Alright guys, so let's talk about Elite Dangerous' ship interior. I know this video is late, I had a viral infection, I couldn't make the video, but I want to talk about this because as a Star Citizen backer, I feel like at the end of the day, my view on this carries a bit more weight than someone who's a community manager for Frontier, for example. And I think they're missing the point. I think they're missing the large gameplay and gameplay loops and point of having ship interiors. But before we go into it and we break it all down and we talk about the good and the bad, let's hear exactly what Frontier have said regarding ship interiors. By the way, this montage was created by a group called, it was Elite Week. It is now Black Sky Legion. So I'll put a link in the description below. They do a podcast every Friday. Please feel free to go and check them out. The owner is an amazing guy. I've talked to him several times. So this is what Frontier have had to say regarding ship interiors.
I will be honest and tell you, at the moment, there are no plans for full ship interiors. That's a fact. And I think I expressed this on one of the streams before as to why they weren't going to be going in, and we did put it in the forum post. And it simply is, at the moment, it doesn't add enough value to the gameplay loops. That is what is the belief behind the development team, i.e. that the complexity around add this in, and it's not just adding in a ship interior like are in other games. It's then when you go in and you add a ship interior and you have all the various modules laid out in different locations, how it's going to look, and then be able to walk around them. And then it's I've landed at base, I'm under attack and I want to get away, but it's taking me 30 seconds to run to the top of my Anaconda because this is now a 1-to-1 scale of my ship and I've got to go for every single door, etc., etc. And I've been blown up and this isn't fun anymore. Or I'm now bored because I just want to get on my ship and I'm sick and tired because I want to land, get out. It's great to have, and I can see it from both sides. I love the immersion stuff. I'm all over it. And I think it's fantastic. But I also look at it from the other point of view. If this doesn't add anything, it's going to get boring very quickly for people after that first 10, 15 times. If you're in a big ship and it takes you 30, 40 seconds to get through your ship to get off a planet, and then to get off your planet to go into a station when you might drop something off, it will become tiresome because it's not a lift where you're just going in and you haven't got to do anything. You're actually going to have to run around and do stuff. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. It's not necessarily FDevs, but at the moment it doesn't add any value. They can't see the value added into a gameplay loop. If that changes, perhaps they'll go back and relook at it. But at the moment there are no more plans. That's me being honest. I said before on the stream, it may not be the answer people want to have, but I'm a big fan of, I'd rather give you the answer than say nothing.
Yeah. Ben?
Right. Probably two things. One, have you ever played Pulsar Lost Colony?
I have not.
Right. That is a game where you are basically 5 people crewing a starship, and there's people of you. And you're running around fixing components, doing all that stuff, and it is probably one of the most hectic and immersive and brilliant games. Crewing, where you're all doing your own jobs, a bit like what we could have done with multi-crew, but didn't. And there's just so much potential that game can.
Look, I'm not gonna. A dev will give you a better answer to this than I will, right? And I'm not gonna. I don't want to sound like I'm being confrontational because I see people in chat going, you're not listening, and we all want ship interiors. You're just not listening to us. Let's be frank about this. What you're asking for is a fundamental change to the game.
Oh, gotcha.
So you're asking for us to create these giant customizable units of space to be multi-crewed, to then fly through in the speed of time that we're doing with Odyssey on a 1-to-1 scale of the galaxy. It's not a small task to take. And when you have a look at all the other stuff we could have added in, I guess that's the decision they made at those early doors. So people just saying, "I'll just do ship interiors." It's not a just do ship interiors, right? You don't just go around and go, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to model every type of ship interior to its scale." And these ships are huge in comparison to, I think players realised that when we started showing Odyssey off, sort of in the alpha, and people stood next to Corvettes, etc., etc. You want to model that Corvette in a 1-to-1 scale, walk around it, and then you're going to ask for various functions to be taking place within that Corvette whilst you're flying, and it's all customizable to the modules you set in it. And then say you have passenger cabins and you have your passengers in there, the next question is going to be, I want to see the passengers, and then I want to interact with my passengers, and then you're into a whole different game. And at what point do you stop? Because there's a point of where we're trying to get to, which is it's a sim, and we want it to be enjoyable. Now, again, this is me speaking as Arthur, not as FDev. It's my own rationale I put behind this. Again, I would love to see ship interiors, but I do appreciate you're asking for a significant step change shift in what the game's actually doing. And that's the question is, once you go down that road, at what point do you stop?
Another example that we've built into the structure of the game is ship interiors. Now, a lot of people you've seen that we're designing all the ships with the interiors in mind, how the cargo is unloaded, all of that sort of thing, how damage occurs. And that's because that another thing that we are doing, again, down the line, is that you will be able to walk around inside your ship. You'll be able to get out of your ship, walk around inside space stations, other vehicles, all of that sort of thing. We've shown the damage on the ship, the damage models. Imagine looking at that from inside the ship outwards, seeing your cargo flying out into space, seeing the flames, trying to fight them. All of those things that we plan with time, they won't be at the first release because we want to do them right. We want to do them well. All of these will be done as updates, and I'll talk some more about that in a second, but the point really is that we want to do it well, but the game has to be structured in a way to allow it from the start. So we're designing the ships so that they work that way, and so that when we come to do it, it's not a problem. When we come to show all of these elements, walking around the ships, walking into other people's ships potentially stealing them, we have got in mind all of the things, all of the gameplay, the really rich gameplay that entails. And it's, to go back to what I've been saying right from the start of this Kickstarter, what is the game I want to play? This is the game I want to play, because actually, in many ways, it doesn't feel like a game. It feels like a world that I'm being brought into. And with each of these subsequent updates, we expect that world will get richer, and more of the things that we are excited about will be there. You will be able to walk around the spaceport, you will be able to see gold being loaded into someone else's ship, you will be able to sneak in and hide in amongst the cargo. All of those things are phenomenal gameplay opportunities, where that ship might actually be the ship of another player. So just think where that all ends. All of these things I think we need to do right.
I would love to see players running around their ship and other ships, dealing with emergencies and repelling boarders, cleaning up toxic spillages, exploring derelict husks, that sort of mischief.
What I want to see in future releases of Elite Dangerous will be more ships, more diversity in design and the looks of the spaceships, the ability to walk around them, particularly the bigger ones like the Anaconda.
One of the things that we've implemented on some of the larger ships is based on a grid system of meter squares. So the cockpit is of a certain size, and within that there's a lift shaft, and that shaft will then channel down and be the same position throughout the ship on all the lower decks.
Planning for the future, where on the one hand you have something like a Cobra, which actually is a giant vehicle with a huge ladder you get out of, or an Anaconda, which in itself would probably be the size of a level in many of the first-person shooter games that I've played.
What's really exciting is zero gravity. That's something you don't see in a lot of games, and being able to sort of float around your ship, float through the corridors and float out of your ship and sort of climb around it and fix something on the outside, I think that would be really cool. I'd love to see that in the future.
I'm really looking forward to zero-G combat, getting out of your seat and then being in an atmosphere that has absolutely no gravity. How is that going to work? I'm really looking forward to playing that.
I love things like walking around inside the ship and the space station.
So, as you hear there, Brandon himself has talked about having ship interiors. Now, this seems to be something that they've gone back on later. Seems to be something that they might have reconsidered, changed their mind. I think there's more to it than just thinking that ship interiors are going to be boring. I think at the end of the day, it has more to do with the Cobra engine not being able to support it. But we'll talk about that in a sec. So, why do I think ship interiors are important? So, as we've gone through and we've been talking in this video, you've seen me aboard or come aboard my Star Runner. This is a ship that's in Star Citizen, full ship interior, and to be honest, this is probably one of the worst examples of ship interiors if you want to talk about boredom and stuff, because you literally have the cockpit right up the front and you also have the ramp right at the back of the ship. So you literally have to walk all the way through the ship to get to the cockpit. This is probably the worst case scenario. That said, the Star Runner is probably the most ship that I've flown since I've played Star Citizen. I fly this thing weekly, if not daily. The amount of times I've gone from the front of my ship to the back of my ship, especially doing things like xenothreat missions, cargo running, whatever it may be, literally obscene amounts of times per day, per time, per session, per week. I've probably gone to this thing thousands of times. Do I get sick of it? Do I wish that they put like a little ramp that would magically teleport me into outside the ship sometimes? Sure. But here's the thing. This is where the gameplay comes into it. So at the end of the day, I was going through and I was doing this POI target where the enemy had taken over a stronghold, taken over this base. And they had the anti-aircraft guns on the base, on the target of the POI. I decided to rock up there with my Star Runner and land aboard, land the ship away from the anti-aircraft guns, walk in, take out the bad guys, and then walk back. But as I was coming in to land, I got too close to the anti-aircraft guns. And they started opening firing on my ship. I wish I had the recording because it was all kinds of interesting, right? Now, at the end of the day, I had to get away from those turrets before they'd blown up my ship. I did. I landed, walked through my ship, red lights flashing everywhere, smoke pouring out of certain pipes that had been busted. Ship looked like a complete mess. Now, at the end of the day, there have been other times, for example, with the Star Runner, where I was a criminal, right? And I went to a similar area, like a security station, and I was going through and I was removing a crime stat. And I landed away from the station and went to walk up into the station, and I noticed someone had flown over me, like done a flyby. And I'm like, I better go double check my ship. Ran back to my ship, and there is some guy literally laying into it with his energy-based weapons, trying to drop the shield because obviously I had left the shields on because obviously in Star Citizen you never power down your ship, you just turn the engines off, right? Little note for the newbies. Anyway, I was like, shit, running, hit the hatch, ran up the ramp, closed the ramp behind me, got into the cockpit, flicked on the engines and flew off, and then him and I had a bit of a dogfight. But there was a whole point of time there where I'm like running towards the cockpit thinking, is this ship going to blow up with me in it? There have been other times where I've been a criminal and I'd gone to SPK, taken something like a Star Runner or something like a Pisces or whatever it may be, flown in like a bat out of hell, flew under the landing pad trying to get past the anti-aircraft guns so that I could EVA into SPK to remove my crime stat. And there have been times when I've done that and the turrets have been firing at my ship, and it's been a case of get out of the ship before the ship blows up, because at the end of the day the turrets are laying into your ship. And there's a little bit of adrenaline running, right? Because you're running through the ship, opening, closing doors, opening the ramp, trying to get down the ramp, out EVAing, or if you're on ground, running out of the ground before the ship blows up. This is the sort of emergent gameplay that comes when you have things like ship interiors. If you just magically spawn in and out of your ship in the pilot's seat, you don't have these problems. You don't have these issues. You don't have these concerns. Not only that, but like for example here, you see me going around and I'm currently in a turret. I was able to get out of my pilot's seat, run up to the turret, jump into the turret seat, and then just start playing around with the turret because we have ship interiors. And it's not only that, it's also you look at things like, for example, components. Star Citizen has ship components like Elite does, right? Cool, great. But here's the thing. In Star Citizen, those components are going to be able to be targeted eventually and attacked, probably coming in the next 2 or 3 patches. So at the end of the day, you're going to need someone to be able to go through and say, hey, shield generator took an absolute battering when we just got into that last conflict. You get your engineer mate, normally in my case it'll be Fez, or if I'm on Fez's ship I'll be the engineer presumably. You rip out the shield generator, weld it together with duct tape and bubble gum. You literally MacGyver that thing, slot it back into its place, hopefully with enough juice in it so that it holds off until you get to the space station. This is the sort of stuff that comes with things like ship interiors. These, like even the data running, right? In Elite, your ship holds data. Fine, terrific. In Star Citizen, they're literally going to be the terminals that are in front of you, what you see now. They're literally going to be terminals storing data. So you're going to have to physically add and remove the data from those terminals. This sort of stuff only happens with ship interiors. The whole argument that I've heard from Elite is that ship interiors is boring. The first 10 times or so, you'll get sick of running up the ramp and running towards the cockpit. Do you? Yes. But to be honest, when your ship is getting shot at by a pirate or a bounty hunter and you're trying to get into the cockpit and take off before your ship blows up, you're not sitting there thinking, God, it's boring how I have to run to the front of my ship to get into the cockpit because someone's shooting at me. And like I say, this is not even getting into things like, for example, here, you see I'm opening all the hatches. These are actually physicalized components that'll be in the game soon enough. You're going to be able to go in and actually remove these components and actually go through and swap them out for other components. And you know, that's not even getting into the crawl spaces and the interiors of the ships like I'm crawling through at the moment. But like, for example, say your quantum drive leaks. Say your quantum drive gets damaged, right, and you're drifting in space. You might have a spare one in your stores. So then you'll need someone to go up, rip out the old quantum drive, go replace it with the new one, before you might be able to get your ship up and working again. This is the sort of stuff that comes with ship interiors. And I've spoken to a lot of Elite players, a lot of these Elite refugees. I'm in like Sky's Discord a lot, which is a lot of them. And at the end of the day, even they have to agree, ship interiors are not boring. But this whole argument that Elite has with how ship interiors is just boring and you're going to get sick of it, even they're laughing about it, saying this is not likely to happen. So I really do think, and this is where it comes into it, I think at the end of the day, the reason why they don't put ship interiors in Elite has nothing to do with it being boring. I think it has to do with the fact that at the end of the day, the Cobra engine can't support it. And at the end of the day, they don't want to have to sit there and rewrite mass amounts of codes for their engine for something that is probably going to take them years to do. It's probably going to take them years to figure it out. And at the end of the day, for something that Star Citizen is already doing, if not better, as the same as what they would be able to do it as. Like even in Star Citizen here, we still have issues where ramps kill people and stuff, changing from physics grid and stuff like that. So, yeah, that would be my argument on this thing. I really do think there is more to this than it's just the fact of it's boring. From, like, for example, we're going to get fires put in Star Citizen soon, where your fires will break out in your ship, and then you're going to need a fire extinguisher to be able to go through and actually put out these fires. All this emergent gameplay actually comes from having ship interiors. And as you can see in this here, I've probably made my way through this ship 3-4 times during the course of this video. And not once when I was sitting there recording it did I think, boy, this is boring. So I really do think, and if I can give any advice to the people on Elite, is keep making your voices be heard. This is one thing that we learnt with Star Citizen, with hover mode and stuff like that. If you guys jump up and down about this enough, Elite will do this for you. But let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great night and enjoy.